Hello, this is Alex Schiffer of the Kansas City Star, your Missouri beat writer. I'm about to be joined by Sam Mellinger, and we are going to break down Missouri's loss to South Carolina and the beating that awaits them at Alabama. I guess we should start discussing this game by everything that could have happened if Missouri won. So if Missouri wins this game, Barry Odom's not on the hot seat for the rest of the season. 9 and 8 wins are very practical. 10 isn't crazy talk.
Yeah.
And assuming Drew Lock played well, his performance against Georgia that was is probably forgiven in the sense of the NFL people. Now that everything happened, let's see. LSU just lost to Florida. Kentucky's currently ranked. They're still playing, I believe.
They're up. I just saw they're up. It's early, but they're up on A&M. Yeah, it doesn't look good, man.
Yeah, so 7 wins. I mean, I still think Tennessee and Arkansas are wins. Memphis for homecoming should be a win, and then assuming they get Vanderbilt at home, 7 wins is still practical. I mean, it's amazing how quickly the forecast changed. It's kind of symbolic of, I wrote about the third quarter and how the incoming rain was kind of symbolic of just how Missouri was about to play at the start of the second half.
Right.
You know, we went into this game thinking this is a very beatable team, and for the second week in a row, Missouri showed it can hang. I mean, it was the better team today in terms of offense and everything, and it had one bad quarter, really just 2 bad drives. And to quote Bob Huggins, my freshman year, to my roommate, they didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They shot themselves in the face.
Did he say that?
Yes.
It's a good line.
Yeah, it was great.
It's a good line. Yeah, I mean, I think, there's a lot that's frustrating about this. At the top of the list is the fact that it's in the first time, and it just seems that it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's after, no, we fixed it. We've learned from it. We're going to be better going forward. And the other thing is that this isn't just any season. I know, it's only Barry Odom's third year and whatever. You can judge on a curve on that. But the fact is, he's a defensive coordinator as the head coach, and he has a gift in an NFL-ready senior quarterback who turned down the draft to come back. And so, stuff like that, even in the micro, talk about South Carolina's last drive. You want to get some pressure, you want to send some guys.
Where is the pass rush? They didn't have anything on him today.
Nothing. And I don't understand that. And look, it is factually correct that Mizzou got a lot of bad breaks.
All the overturned calls.
Yeah.
Will Muschamp worked that really well today. Yeah. Everything he questioned turned out he was like a philosopher. Are we sure about that?
I still don't know what they saw in Crockett's. It would have been a 70-yard.
I didn't think that was enough to overturn it. I thought Cam Scott's was just – I don't think every ref calls it like that.
Yeah.
His butt was down, and he just kind of figured the play was over. I don't know if every ref gives him a bad break like that.
Yeah.
That was just I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
That was just a weird deal all around.
But here's the deal. It's also true that, okay, you get a bad break, but nobody gets every break in a football game. And feel free to not implode right after, Crockett's touchdown turns into
They got as close as the 2-yard
10.
line. They got as close to the 2-yard line that drive after Crockett's, and they got no points out of that.
Yeah.
That was the missed field goal.
I thought that was the false start, unsportsmanlike conduct, false start.
That was the drive that ended with the drop punt. But then the ensuing drive,
I mean, it's agonizing. You know what I mean? And me and you aren't the ones in uniform. Given everything. It's the same stuff. And year 3, you would think they'd be back from it. The thing I kept thinking about too over in the post game is Drew Lock, Barry Odom, some other guys that they're saying we can handle this. We've been through this before. That's what Drew Lock said. 1,000 times we've been through this before. And you're kind of that's the problem. You've been through this 1,000 times before. You have these 4 or 5 games. I mean, they won the last 2 in a row now. It'll be 3 after Alabama.
Yeah.
They'll beat Memphis, right? But every season seems to have these like sort of, it's just a crisis in the middle of it.
What made it kind of funny to me, you're talking about all that we've been to before and we're going to bounce back. And I still like my team. Like, I feel like even Barry was well taking this with a grain of salt because you're going to get destroyed next week. So I almost feel like all of the motivational coach speak and we're going to fix this, like it's like embargoed for a week just because we all know. I mean, we were talking about this out here before we came in. What's the best case scenario next week? I mean, Tua Tagovailoa is the runaway favorite for the Heisman. They had some ridiculous. This is from like earlier in the week. It probably got it either went up today if it could or like stayed there. It was like they were like 90-something% on third down conversions. Alabama, like with this secondary, and that Tua's not even going to get touched on. Yeah, he could throw from a lawn chair if he wanted to on next Saturday. I mean, they have nothing to threaten any teams with defensively. Offensively, I think it's impressive how they're kind of – I thought it was impressive in the first half. You're without your two senior wideouts in Emmanuel Hall and Nate Brown. The young guys look decent. Jalen Knox almost had a touchdown there too.
Yeah.
Will Muschamp must have 20/20 vision with how he knew that, knee was down at the half-yard line and all that. But the running game looked great and the tight ends looked decent. It was interesting they didn't throw to the tight ends more early on before the rain came. But after that, it was just the deep ball is just not there for them right now.
The running game was great.
Yes.
I think this is right. I'm off the top of my head, but I think this is right. They had those three running backs, so don't count Drew Lock had some runs. Mm-hmm. But the three running backs, I think, had 293 yards on 39 carries. It was something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 289. Last number I saw might have been 289, but I'm bad at math, too, so I should check that.
They were, like, running through tackles, and the offensive line gave them the ball. Sometimes it's like, wow, geez, with that offensive line, who wouldn't have run for a lot of yards? And sometimes the running backs are doing it all on their own. But that was both. Like they were kicking South Carolina's ass at the line of scrimmage offensively. But Drew Lock and look, like the third quarter was weird. It was really weird.
Yes.
But there were two teams on the field in the third quarter. So that doesn't have to mean that you implode. But anyway, through the weather, he had a bad game.
That pick six was absolutely atrocious. And, people, I think the Drew Lock debate just comes down to this with fans and with media and everybody. He's a 4-year starter. As you said, they've been through all this before.
Yeah.
They have a Heisman campaign for him, which is like in the current state of the dinosaurs right now. Yeah. And they had 6 or 7 NFL scouts here today. You can't continue to give him a break if you're going to evaluate him as a potential NFL first-round pick because he's not going to he could get drafted to a team that doesn't have a ton of good receivers or doesn't have a lot around him. And what teams are looking for is his ability to keep Missouri competitive in games they shouldn't be, which will be the big thing for them next week. And there was nobody looking at him on that side of the field when he threw that ball. And it was the third play in a series where they just gave South Carolina the lead. Yeah. There was not a single positive takeaway or single excuse you can have for him on that play.
No, it was careless in a moment that you absolutely cannot be careless. I mean, it was a gift of 7 points. And like he's always going to get the benefit of the doubt because he's got the body. He's got the arm for sure. He checks all those boxes. He's athletic. But there's a big gap, in the NFL of the guys that check those boxes and the guys that really have success. And look, like I think that Drew Lock can have success, and I certainly don't. I'm not going to get my mind completely swayed by one game, but it's just, that's the kind of, sort of. And I get it. It's chaotic. All that stuff is going on, but that's the kind of mistake that you'd hope your 4-year starting senior quarterback who came back from the draft to play this one more year. You just hope he's beyond moments like that.
Yeah. And next week we'll mark the halfway point of the season and it's his senior year. My whole thing is had they beaten Georgia, it would have been a moment for his legacy. He hasn't beaten anybody that has a winning record. We talked about, let's just say their final games that they win are Memphis, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. What will he be remembered as? I think some people, again, that are his loyalists. He had 3 offensive coordinators, 2 coaches. It was a very turbulent time. He was here with the protests and everything that went on with that, thrown in the fire as a freshman. I think there'll always be a little bit of a card he'll have to play of look, I didn't have a lot of stability and all that, but I just think the clock is kind of running out for him to really have a game where they win because he's the reason, and he kind of shows what he was always touted to be. They're not winning at Alabama. They'll have Florida in the swamp. Maybe they're still ranked there, and they'll have Kentucky at home. They'll probably still be ranked. Okay, maybe, and let's just say they win both those games, and maybe the season goes a little better than we thought. It's still not a landmark name like a Georgia or, Florida in the swamp, I guess, is a little bit of a big deal. But
that'd be a hell of a win.
Yeah, but it's just I think just the clock is ticking on him to really kind of show what he should have been.
Purdue was a step, you would think, just the way that game happened. Doing it at the end. He had one sort of just outrageous throw, the touchdown on this kind of a deep slant. From the left sideline in. I mean, he had some really good moments, but I don't know. I feel like if it goes the way that it feels like it might go right now, it's going to be like, man, so talented, NFL draft pick. Hopefully, he has a great career. Stayed in state, to go to his school.
Triple legacy. His dad and grandfather played for Mizzou.
But gosh, I wish it. There would have been a few more wins. I think that's kind of how it goes. And he'll be a guy, no matter what happens the rest of the year. He'll be a guy they introduce on the field, during games in the future.
Absolutely.
When he's in the NFL, he'll come back on a bye week, and he'll do all that stuff. But really good athletes, great athletes. They'll talk about get greedy, and so he's got that. But getting greedy means something else. Getting greedy means turning that Heisman campaign into something that gets traction. You know what I mean? And it's hard to see that happening right now.
I agree. We have a question from Ron. Sorry if this was already asked, but what was Odom's demeanor like in the press conference? I kind of think he was biting his tongue. I think he really wanted
100%. Oh my gosh.
I think he really wanted to say a number of things, but he was trying to just be calm. I don't know, maybe he's saving it for next week when they lose 50-7 at Bama.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I kind of was surprised about was Tucker McCann. I had a couple of people text me about this, how Odom said it was a miscommunication. He pretty much threw McCann under the bus. He did not give any – he didn't make it seem at all that there was an onside kick call, and he didn't – he pretty much said McCann did this all on his own a little bit and maybe misread a signal. But I'm just kind of surprised he went that way because McCann's had kicking problems throughout his career. Another thing that's not new and has happened before.
Sure.
And, given that it's not a lock that he's – he missed a chip shot 25 yards. Even in the rain, I feel like you should make that.
Yeah.
I just don't think that was a good thing mentality-wise for your kicker. You already know he's inconsistent, and you're going to just kind of pin that whole – you pretty much – Tucker McCann was the entire reason that South Carolina tied the game at 7 early on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that was such a weird thing, too, because it very clearly looked like – the 10 guys on kickoff coverage did not expect that to be an onside kick. The onside kick didn't even get to 10 yards. That was a really weird. I would describe Barry Odom post game like it was successful restraint. It was
good. I like that.
That's
I
how,
like that.
That's how and I didn't think about you just made a good point a little bit ago. So congratulations on that. But when you said he might have Alabama next week in his head, now's not the time.
Yeah.
Right? It's never the time, right? To just fly off the handle or whatever. But now's certainly not the time to say it stops now, get on or get off. Now's not the time. Next week, when it's 66-21 or whatever, maybe that's the time to pull this out when you got Memphis and some other things like that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when he was saying when you asked him about do you want to see some anger and everything, he's like yeah, that's why I was late coming in here and everything. I was in the back of my head, I was thinking is he going to say or the players going to say something about having a special meeting in the locker room and everything? I was saying to myself even if they did, they can't say that now. They have Bama waiting. I feel like common sense is too strong and where they're we can't if there's a players only meeting, it'll be after next Saturday's game, and that kind of stuff will come out just because. What do they have to gain by saying that now? You know what I mean? Again, like, is everything they said about it being fixed and we're going to get our act together, no more Therese Hall said no more losing. I saw that. I if that you were in that scrum, but I almost want to say after next Saturday, right? Like everyone knows just what's going to happen next week. So
yeah, I can't remember the exact quote, but Therese Hall, it was something like, we can't lose anymore. And it's one of those things like, you're a proud athlete.
Yeah.
It's, at that point, maybe 20 minutes after the game was over, at the most, maybe 15 or whatever, maybe you say some things. And the other part that he said was, like, from now on, I promise you this, if somebody's going to play us, they're going to have to play, they're going to have to strap it on, blah, 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 blah. But again, like the question about this group, it's never been about effort.
Yeah.
Right? It's never been about, like, do they care enough? Do they work hard enough? It's been about, like, do they make too many mistakes?
And all the penalties were just right? the thing that blew my mind, like the DeMaria Crockett thing. I mean, Case Cook got called for holding. Alberto jumped the gun, but it was 3 penalties in one drive, like almost all in succession.
Yeah.
They go from the 10.5-yard line all the way back, and that drive ended up at their own 47 after the botched punt attempt. You can't make it. It kind of reminds me of Mets injuries, just because that was the fanhood I grew up on. Just like how you can't make this stuff up, and it's just like this is mostly an upperclassman team. Again, Barry just kind of keeps saying how we're going to get it fixed. Like this should be the last thing you worry about. Like if it's just if like next week at Alabama, if they're more talented, like so be it. They're supposed to be, but like. If these are the things that cost you, it's the same thing with Georgia. They just give teams points from these stupid things, and it's like, how, where does that fall? I mean, at the end of the day, it's on Barry Odom as the head coach, but and again, Locke, that was his own throw. I guess McCann, we'll say that was his own decision with an asterisk, just because it was just bizarre in nature, but I think Barry's too smart to not acknowledge that this can't be their downfall when you're Missouri, and it can't be your downfall in year 3.
Yeah, because they are talented, like athletically, they're talented enough to win in the SEC. Athletically, they're just not. Nobody's this talented to play through Alabama, whatever. Like they're certainly not so talented that they can play through all this. It's just after the bye week too, like everything that happened against Georgia, and then you have a bye week to, sort of
get
reset.
Your act together. Yeah.
You're playing a backup quarterback. You're up 9.5. It's just disheartening.
Hey, it's Blair Kirchhoff, and if you're listening to this, you love Kansas City sports, whether it's the Chiefs, Royals, Sporting, Mizzou, KU, or K-State. And no one covers these teams like the Kansas City Star. If you currently subscribe to the paper or have a digital subscription, thank you for your support. And if you don't, here's a great offer. It's called Sports Pass, unlimited digital access to every sports story and video on kansascity.com. And it's just $30 for the first year. It's the best sports value in town, just 8 cents a day or $2.50 a month. You can't beat that. Subscribe now at kansascity.com/sportspass.
One takeaway I did have that is kind of irrelevant now, but I was really impressed with Derek Dooley as an offensive coordinator today. I mean, he has some very creative formations. When Dave was talking to me, when the offense sticks to schedule and doesn't do anything stupid, like, he knows what he's doing. I mean, that play call with Sam Bailey, offensive lineman, and you have Yasir Durant lined up as a slot receiver, so cool. 6'7" offensive tackle. Like, he clearly knows how to get creative. I think a little more than Josh Heupel, because Josh Heupel, his receivers had like 12 routes. The tight ends only really popped on play action. I think Derek Dooley knows what he has in each player and knows how to kind of get creative. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he got a call from someone at the end of the year, maybe to be an offensive coordinator for them. Or I think his phone will be ringing for like a job with a better program, just because he has shown being in a different position than he's ever been before, that he knows offense, he knows personnel, and he knows how to adapt to the looks defenses are giving you. And in the first half, I mean, he looked like a Broyles Award finalist, and then reality hit with the second half and everything. And again, the lock pick isn't his fault.
For sure.
The penalties aren't his fault. I mean, he can call the plays. He can't do them for his players. I mean, I think so far this season, with him being one of the big unknowns going in, like I think he's been pretty good.
Nobody wants to hear about it because of the way the game ended, but that tackle eligible play was so cool. I just don't know that I've ever seen something like that.
Oh, I haven't.
Where the guy goes that far down the field on a tackle eligible. And it worked so well that I forgot who it was, but there was a guy running on the seam on the right side. And he was the play worked so well that guy, that receiver, was basically like uncovered and also just jogging because he knew Samson Bailey was that wide open.
Yeah.
And that's where the ball was. I mean, it was such a cool play. They stretched him out and then just tacked him down the middle. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
God, that was great.
The one little
Everything
sliver.
after that went downhill.
The one sliver. No Emmanuel Hall and Nate Brown today. That obviously really hurt them. Emmanuel Hall has been banged up now 2 or 3 games. That was another thing you thought the bye week would take care of.
Yeah.
I even wonder if you're Missouri, do you bench him against Alabama just because what's there to gain from bringing him back? I mean, they know what they have in him. They know what the offense is with him, but he's so valuable to them clearly. Why put him in against Bama? He gets popped again. You risk losing him the rest of the year when you're very much going to need him. I would vote in favor of keeping him out next week just as a precaution.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that's one of those weird things. Like people like you and me, and people watching this and listening to this can like think like that. But sometimes there's a disconnect between. I think that's the best thing for Mizzou, in 2018.
Long term, yes.
But like, is that a thing that a coach can do?
That's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that a thing that Barry Odom can be like? Getting our ass kicked anyway, like let's whatever. I don't know if they can go that far, but yeah, it probably would be the best thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's clearly a little. I don't know how to describe. I might have been DMing Therese about this, but he kind of reminds me of Jeremy Maclin a little bit from both Mizzou and his Chiefs days, where like he'd get hit and he'd come out for a little bit, and you're wondering like, is he hurt? And what's the deal? And then like he comes back in the next day or the next play, and you're like, okay, I guess that wasn't what I thought it was. And then other times he doesn't get a big hit or doesn't look as dinged up, and then he just disappears, and you're like, wait, he's on the sidelines with his helmet off. So he reminds me of J-Mac in that sense of you can never really tell when he's healthy, and you can never really tell when he's hurt until someone says it, or I don't know. It's just a weird case with him and how his body handles certain things. Again, I've played recess football, so I can't speak for any of the hits these guys take. But any questions from anybody? Not really. I've been asking everybody that. Wait, does this look change your outlook on the rest of the season? Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing now is I still think 7 wins are possible, maybe even 8 if they steal one. But I think Barry Odom's seat is warm even if they get 7 wins because of everything they've left on the table.
That's an interesting question. And
6-6, it gets very interesting.
Yeah, I think 6-6. Especially that buyout is so low.
It's nothing.
It almost cost them less to fire him. I mean, the replacement they'd probably have to pay more, but that buyout, it's basically like a buy me out buyout.
Yeah.
Like that there was no job security in that number. I think it's probably too early. They're certainly not going to fire him barring something just catastrophic. They're not going to fire him before the season's over. But it's in play now.
Yeah.
It's in play. And, now you got to think back and like, thank God for the Purdue game and pulling that out. Because how much different does it look if that game went the other way? But I think it does. It's a weird outcome because in some ways, again, like athletically at the line of scrimmage, they kick South Carolina's ass, especially in the run game when they had the ball. And so that should play, those kinds of things should play going down the road. But like they also blow games. They also make all these mistakes. And so I don't know that you can trust them. I just the problem is if this starts to go like this, and we've seen that happen, and they end up pulling out, right? At the end of the season, they'll lose 5 in a row, and then they'll win 2 or 3 or whatever. They can pull out of it, but you don't want that to happen again, because that was a dejected bunch after this game, and it should have been.
Yeah, the thing to me that's interesting about all this is I definitely think they made the right move by keeping him last year, regardless of the win streak, because there was so much hiring turnover in the SEC. I mean, Arkansas, first-year head coach this year, Tennessee, all these guys. Now this year, Missouri's kind of one of the more lucrative jobs that were to come open, because really there won't be that much turnover in the SEC this year. All these guys, Jeremy Pruitt, who's at Florida? I always forget the Florida coach's name. Dan, this has been a long day for us guys. Dan Mullen at Florida, Mississippi State. All these guys are going to get longer leashes. Chad Morris at Arkansas is a mess right now. So Missouri will be one of the only might be the only job open in the SEC should it come open. So there is, with everyone else just kind of cleaning house, there is an advantage to Missouri opening up this year. Now, I don't know. I don't really think there's like a Matt Campbell, like some young and up-and-coming name that, like, is the guy you have to get. Yeah. But I do think that there's more legs this year than last year, given the way the rest of the coaching carousel went. I guess I'll put it this way. If it's a weird spot, like a 6-6, maybe a little less 7-5 and 8-4, depending upon how 8-4 he's safe. But if it's a weird 7-5 or obviously a 6-6, I don't think it's in Barry Odom's favor, that 50-50 split. I don't think it's in his favor because of the way the rest of the Power 5 conferences are right now.
No, it's a good point. I wouldn't have thought about that. That's a good point.
Oh, that's 2 good points for me today. Damn.
That is 2.
Damn. All right, we've been going almost a half hour. I've been asking everybody else that's joined me. Vahe, Blair, I'm just curious, what's your Chiefs prediction for tomorrow? It's kind of like a segue.
I think they'll lose. I think this is the one.
So this is probably still Pat Mahomes magic
after the game tomorrow, isn't it? So I'm going to look like a real idiot. Yeah. No, I just think like they're not going to go 19-0, and specifically they're not going to lose or they're not going to win. I don't think the next 2 games they're playing. I know Leonard Fournette's out, but they're playing Jacksonville on a short week. They played Monday. Jacksonville played Sunday, and it's like one of the best, either the best or second or third, whatever, top 3 defense in the league. Somebody's going to punch them in the face. And then after that, they get Bill Belichick on 10 days to plan at New England. So I don't think they'll win both of those. If they do, then I'm going to pick them to win every game between now and 2030. But I don't know. It just feels like one of those games that this might be a step back.
Interesting. Will there still be Pat Mahomes magic of some sort?
I mean, like everybody, like and full disclosure, like me, very much included, like is so all in on him anyway that we feel like there's some skin in the game. Like I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be that wrong. But he's look, man. Like as much as I sit here and say, like I think if I have to pick, like I think it's like a 55-45 thing, right? That they lose, but that would be my pick. This is a challenge that he hasn't faced yet. Best defense he's ever faced, and that's all true. But like every challenge that he's had so far, he hasn't just passed, but it's been an A+. Played like crap really in the first half against Denver on the road, primetime rival,
Monday night.
At that point, the best defense he had ever faced, and then comes out in the second half and is just outrageously good. Outrageously good, and not just the left-handed passes like the highlight or whatever. But there was so much more to it. So anyway, like I think this is a loss, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me even a little bit if they win and if he throws for 350 yards or whatever.
Fun fact: Missouri, when they played at LSU in 2016, and Les Miles got fired, everyone thought they were going to win because Leonard Fournette was out, aside from Les Miles getting sacked, and obviously that was a blowout loss in their favor. So maybe that happens. I'm just curious on the last thing. I feel like Drew Lock, again, as you said, he lost money on that pick 6. In general, though, what have you thought of the Drew Lock Patrick Mahomes comparisons? I know Todd McShay called him a poor man's Patrick Mahomes. I think they both have good arms. I think Patrick Mahomes' arm is way better than Drew Lock's, the deep ball and all that stuff. I talked to some NFL scouts about this when I did my list, where they also think that Mahomes' IQ for his age is just on another level. And I also think that, I also think that, and I'm not just trying to use the left-handed pass, but I also think that when Mahomes improvises, it pays off.
Yeah.
We saw today what Drew's improv skills look like a little bit.
Yeah. I don't like that comparison. I think a lot of times we go overboard with comparisons anyway.
I think that's going to be the thing for this NFL draft of the next Patrick Mahomes.
No, totally. But
whether it's Drew or someone else.
Yeah, but Patrick Mahomes is supposed to be the next Brett Favre. That's been the thing that they've been talking about forever with him. No, I think Pat is significantly more talented than Drew Lock. And I say that about a guy that will probably go in the first round, but he's just a different level. The creativity, the ability to throw on the run, these are all good. I'm not knocking Drew Lock. He's good at these things, but Pat is just on, just sort of a different, even just physically. And I think that's the thing that is super attractive for NFL teams when it comes to Drew Lock. But just physically, Pat is different. He just is. Again, just the ability to throw on the run. Actually, it's funny you're asking this question, because on that last Hail Mary, I did it. And again, I'm like you, I'm bad at math, but I think he threw it about 60 yards.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out some rough math too of how he threw it around the 20, 25, and it got to about.
He threw it at the 25.
Yeah, and it got to about the 15 or so.
So that would be 60, and it went across the field a little bit.
Yeah.
Pat threw it 70 in Atlanta, and he was off balance and getting hit while he threw it. One of his high school friends swears he's seen him throw 85 yards. The arm, that throw against San Francisco where he scrambled left, ditched, turned around, almost fell down, came back and threw a touchdown to Chris Conley in the back of the end zone. Apparently that ball sidearm went 62 miles an hour or something like that.
Wow.
It's just he's different. But here's the other thing that's true. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to have great NFL careers and not be as talented as Patrick Mahomes. So that's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Drew has told me in the past, he's all the NFL scouts knocked me on the deep ball, but when you take as many shots downfield as we do, it's inevitable that you're going to miss a decent amount. Whenever he brings that up and I see Pat Mahomes, the comparison, when Pat takes, you talked about the 70-yard touchdown, when he takes the shots downfield, he's either on the money or pretty damn close. You talked about the next level and kind of just how he's different. That's where I kind of agree, where I don't think Drew's wrong when he says that when you take as many shots downfield as we do, the numbers are going to look not great, but Pat is able to still make them look pretty damn good given what they do because of his talent.
Yeah, it's a different level. But I thought we've been talking about all the mistakes that ball
to Jalen
really early.
That was on the money. Yeah,
that was a great ball. And the coverage was there, but the ball was perfect. And then there was another one early, first quarter, right? I keep forgetting the receiver where he just got almost horse collared or clotheslined or whatever, pass interference. That was a good ball.
He put it right that window. Yeah. He had it right in the window. That wasn't his fault.
He's making big time. He's the kind of guy that if your NFL team needs a quarterback and they're drafting, somewhere in the first round, he's in play, and there's more than enough there to dream on.
I agree. We've been going at it almost 35 minutes. Wow. You got anything else?
I'm good, man.
I guess I'm starving.
Thanks
for coming to hang with me. Yeah. Well, I don't have Aaron anymore, so I got to have something. It's like SNL. We have a new guest every week. He's Mellinger. I'm Alex Schiffer. Thank you guys for joining us. I don't know what we're going to do in Alabama next week. Maybe I go live and I talk for 10 minutes about the few first downs they had or something like that, but we'll see.